Hello, physical science students. It's your teacher. I am coming to you from my backyard during quarantine, and I'm putting together this periodic table for you, just as I would have in class last week if we'd gotten together. I figured there was no need to do this on Zoom, that I could just record a video and then y'all could watch it at your leisure at home when you were able to. So this is going to be using both of these items that you can print off of your Google Classroom. This is the instruction sheet that I'm going to be following, and you can print it out or just look at that page, but I would recommend printing the blank periodic table for your use today because we're going to color it in. So this is a blank periodic table. I'm not going to have you do too much detailed work with the periodic table in this section of our physical science class. You'll get a lot more practice with it next year in chemistry. But there are a few things that I'd like you to know. Before we start, if I talk about groups or families, I'm talking about the vertical columns. And it's hard to read these numbers at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. But I'll be referring to those groups because they are families of elements, and each family has very similar properties. The rows of the periodic table are called periods, and they're not numbered on here. But if you look at a real periodic table that's filled in, you'll find them numbered. And those are periods, and they are the periodic part, and that the trends will repeat as you go across a period and down to the next one. You'll start to see the same trends occurring again. So that's why it's called a periodic table. So number one on our list of things to do is to color the alkali metals green. This group 1 here are the alkali metals. And so this column I'm going to color in green. So get a crayon or a light colored coloring pencil and have a little fun coloring in your first column only of your periodic table, the alkali metals. Done with the first one. Now we're going to do the alkaline earth metals, and that's right next door. Their names are similar, but these have slightly different properties. They are alkaline earth metals, and we're going to color that family in blue. You'll be able to use this on your test if I ask for whether something is a member of a certain family. You'll be able to look at this and tell whether it is or not. All right, number 3, color the transition metals yellow. So the transition metals, I'm going to turn my page a little so I can write this way, are this very long, short, squatty section here in the big middle part of the table. And it's going to go from group 3 all the way over to group 12. And you're going to color this whole thing in yellow. This is a lot of metals. These are called transition metals because they are in this transitional area between the metals and the non-metals. Sorry for all the barking dogs out there. The birds were trying to out-tweet me a minute ago. Now it's my neighbor's dogs. All right, so these are transition metals. Everything in this section, we find silver and gold in this section. We find iron and copper in this section, zinc and titanium. There's a lot of very common metals that we know a lot about. They're all in this short little squatty part of the table. They are all metals, and they are transition metals. They share metallic properties, but they have a lot of difference in their electron structure. So that's why we lump them all together. Next up, number 4, is the noble gases. Now we're going to jump to the far right side of the table. You scoot this over. We are in group 18, noble gases. We're going to color these orange. This is the final family of elements in our periodic table. You'll notice it's not noble metals, they are noble gases. So we're going to outline this trend in a minute, but on the right side of the table, we typically have non-metals. And on the left side, in the center, we have metals. This family is all gases, and they're noble gases. They're very unreactive, also called inert. And helium, neon are both in this family. Two gases we are familiar with, thanks to balloons and fun party lights. Okay, next up is the halogens, and the halogens are this group right here. The halogens we're going to color in pink. So that is group 17. It's just next door to the noble gases. And it is mostly all gases as well. A lot of familiar gases in here. Chlorine is probably the most familiar to you, in that it's used for the pool. I know we're all daydreaming of summer freedom, getting out and about, going back to normalcy. The chlorine in the pool always makes me think of summer. All right, we're going to go down to the bottom of the table now. Number 6 and 7, the lanthanides and the actinides. And these are down here. They look like they're separate, like they're not part of this table. But if you, it's hard to read these numbers, but if you look at these numbers, you'll find that this lanthanide actually goes in the little gap right there. And then the next group down, the actinides, go in the second little gap. If the reason we pull these out is because if we didn't, this table would open up and it would be as wide as it currently is, plus these 14 groups that are in these two sections, the lanthanide and actinide section. So this is called the lanthanide and actinide series. We're going to color the lanthanides purple. I almost got a purple that looks like the blue that I use for alkaline earth metals, but this will be fine for now. So that's my lanthanide. My actinides we're going to color red. Down in this section is where this almost looks brown because I couldn't find a red coloring pencil. You can modify. It doesn't have to be a perfect red. This section is where you find plutonium and uranium, a lot of all radioactive elements down here in the lanthanide and actinide series. A lot of big, giant, heavy nuclei that are unstable. Okay, we have made it to number 8. We are going to highlight the line that separates the metals from the non-metals with a black marker or pen of some kind. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start at the corner right here at the tall part of the table, and we're going to stair step. We're going to stair step it down, step and a step and a step and a step, just like that. And I'm going to do a little dotted line up here, and then I'm going to put that the metals are to the left of that dotted line and the non-metals are to the right of that dotted line. So everything to the left of this stair step is a metal, including the lanthanide and actinide series, with one exception, and that one exception is hydrogen. Hydrogen is the very first element with an atomic number of 1. It's in group 1, period 1 at the very top. And hydrogen actually belongs over here to the nonmetals. I'm gonna box it up in a red marker in just a minute. So I'll do that shortly. I just wanted to point out there is one non-metal hiding over here. The hydrogen's over here because of his single valence electron. He has one valence electron, as do all the other alkali metals. So some periodic tables separate him from the metals and float him up in the air, but in this table he's attached. So we're going to put, in number 9, put a black dot in the metalloid element boxes. A metalloid is an element that is not entirely metal and not entirely non-metal. We're going to go right down the stair step on the top, and then we're going to come right back up underneath, but we're going to stop short. We're not going to include aluminum. Aluminum is a full-on metal right here, so we're not going to dot him. But all these other boxes that I dotted, silicon, germanium, there's a whole bunch of cool, not quite metal, not quite non-metal elements that are sitting on either side of this stair step line, and they're called metalloids because they're not fully metals and they're not fully non-metals. In number 10, we are going to outline the boxes of elements that are gases at room temperature with a red marker. So I'm going to head over here to my hydrogen and I'm going to outline it in red because it is a gas. I'm just going to draw a little dotted line over to show that it belongs over here with the non-metals. The other gases in the periodic table are going to be located. We've already done 2 groups, the halogen group and the noble gas group. Okay, there we go. So if we were to fill some of these in, some of the common elements that you know about, carbon is right here, nitrogen, oxygen. Nitrogen and oxygen make up the majority of our atmosphere, so they're both gases. But carbon is not a gas, so it's not included in our red box of gases. The halogens up at the top, fluorine and chlorine, are both gases, and then the entire noble gas family is gas, obviously. Our next step, number 11, is to outline the boxes of elements that are liquids at room temperature in blue. So one of those is hiding. This is interesting. Can you have a metal that's a liquid? There's one hiding right here in the transition metal section, and that is mercury. Mercury's symbol is Hg. I can't write mercury in there because it's not enough space, but mercury is a liquid, but it's also a metal. The other 2 metals are over here. We have both bromine and iodine, and they are halogens. I'm just going to write a little Br and a little I. Those are the liquids at room temperature, heavier halogens. Number 12 says to include a key in the blank area of the periodic table to indicate each of the above parts. Well, I just wrote right in here for all my parts, but it wouldn't be a bad idea. Oops, as my paper blows away. It wouldn't be a bad idea to just put that the blue is a liquid and the red is a gas. And then we can also make a note that the black dots that we put there are metalloids. And I'll just make a note that those mean that metalloids mean that they have properties of metals and nonmetals. 13, draw an arrow showing, oh, we're not going to do 13, 14, or 15. So I'm glad I looked at those. We're not going to worry about the trends for atomic radius, ionization energy, and we're not going to worry about the charges on the ions. So that is not something that we need to worry about or do. So I'll include the key for my periodic table when I send out the answer keys. But this is what I want you to know about the periodic table. So 13, 14, and 15 you can omit from your list of things to do. And that is all for your periodic table knowledge. All right, guys, be well, take care, and I will see you soon, hopefully.